Good evening, everyone, and welcome into episode 18 of the Forge Podcast, presented to you by Shotgun Sports Network Alabama of the Shotgun Sports Network. My name is Ryan Messer, and guys, it is already November. It's hard to believe. We've got a lot to get into tonight. The Bulls had some transactions in a full weekend in Pelham this past weekend, and then we had the Squadron start their camp over this past week, and we got to chill out with them on Friday. Then the Stallions had a couple transactions as well as rescheduling their fan event. So, but before we get too far, I want to thank you guys for watching, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook, or if you're listening to us on iHeart or Apple Podcast or Audible, or even Spotify or wherever else you're finding your podcast. We see you guys liking and sharing across all of the social media and stuff, and we see all of the likes and shares and all of that. So we appreciate that. That helps support us in bringing you commentary for pro sports here in the Magic City. That helps support us as Shotgun Sports Network Alabama and Shotgun Sports Network as a whole. So we appreciate that. All the comments we see, the messages, all of that. We appreciate all of it. We also appreciate when you guys recognize us out in the games. I've noticed, especially lately, some people have noticed, recognized me, and get to talking to people. It's pretty cool. It's different to get recognized just out in public like that. So it is appreciative because it means that I'm doing what needs to be done and bringing commentary and news to the pro sports here in the Magic City. But we also have to say a big, huge thank you to Blue Spring, and they want to support you as they want to support your health and well-being because they know how vital water is to that. And they want to give you clean water that's bottled right at the source, no added chemicals, no just naturally, minerally enriched water. And you can find it at your local grocer or have it delivered right to your door. Just go to bluespringlivingwater.com to find out more information. And with that, this is episode 18 of the Forge Podcast. We're going to lead things off with the Birmingham Bulls, who had some transactions this past week. On Friday, we saw left winger Seth Benson activated off of the IR, but then we saw defenseman Parker Allison placed on the IR. Then on Sunday, we found out that Parker Allison was actually taken back off the IR to be traded to Macon for future considerations. Then we saw on Friday the Dia de los Muertos night at Pelham Civic Center as the Birmingham Bulls took on the Macon Mayhem. First 1,000 fans got one of these awesome pucks here. As you can see, it's got the Bulls logo with the text Birmingham Bulls above that. Below the logo there, you can see the Dia de los Muertos lettering, and then 2 roses on each side with 2024 down below at the bottom. It's a really cool puck. Nice to have, a little piece of memorabilia. So it's pretty cool to have that. They also had these jerseys, as you can see here. Those were really cool. And they were actually auctioned off at the end of the game there. But we also saw 2 members of the Royal Canadian Air Force present to drop the puck as they were celebrating 100 years of the Royal Canadian Air Force. Shout out to our Shotgun Sports Network partners up north. As most of you guys know, Shotgun Sports Network was actually founded in Canada by 2 Canadians, one on each side, on each coastline. So it's pretty cool there for that. Regarding the game, though, it started off with Josh Boyko in the net for the Mayhem as Lotzi was in for the Bulls. And then just under 6 minutes into the game, McGregor St. Clair wound up finding himself into the box for a hold. And then seconds after the penalty kill, the successful penalty kill, Bulls went on the power play themselves for an elbow, which was unsuccessful. Then just with 7 minutes to go in the first period, while Birmingham was attacking the making goal, goaltender Josh Boyko had to come off the ice for due to an apparent injury, bringing on Bailey Birkin in the net for the Mayhem. Following the intermission, Seth Benson put the puck in the net with just over 3 minutes into the second period. 22 seconds later, Arkip Ledzianko was put in the box for a delay of game penalty. And then less than halfway through the penalty kill, Drake Glover wound up recording the first shorthanded goal of the regular season. Then, just before the midway mark of the second period, we saw Carson Rose put the puck in the net for the Bulls, putting them up 3-0. Just under a minute later, we saw Matt Clark get charged with a slash, putting him in the box. 12 seconds into that penalty, we saw Jamie Dorsey drop gloves with Justin Kelly after a very physical game. Got both sides pretty heated. Just under 4 minutes before the second intermission, the Bulls got called for too many men on the ice penalty. And then 3 minutes into the third period, we saw Philemon Ledzianko get charged for a double major for a boarding, which he was later suspended for Saturday night's game for that one. Unfortunate there, kind of put us behind the 8 ball there, but Macon fortunately only got one goal out of that penalty, which was their only goal of the night. So we were lucky to be able to defend that penalty, kill that penalty off pretty good. Then with about 8.5 left in the game, we saw Seth Benson put the puck in the net to extend the Bulls' lead by 3 once again. Just seconds later, we saw Taylor Brierly put in the box for a slash, but they were not able to capitalize on that at all. And a very physical game, but just awesome to come up with the win. I loved the Dia de los Muertos stuff. It was pretty cool to see that one. And then on Saturday, they had the Whiteout promotion, where the first 1,000 fans got white T-shirts that had the Bulls logo on there. So we saw Birkin back in the net for the Mayhem as Boyko was obviously injured. And then we saw Stewie in the net for Birmingham. And then with the game actually wound up starting with a penalty kill for Birmingham. Troy McTavish wound up getting a double minor for roughing, and then the Mayhem got a minor for unsportsmanlike with under 3 minutes into the game. So it was a lot of the physicality from the previous night just kind of impacted this game a lot. Seconds after the successful penalty kill, the Bulls went on the power play themselves for too many men on the ice, which was an unsuccessful power play. About a minute after that power play, the Mayhem wound up scoring, and then Colton Olnick wound up getting tied up with Patrick's Marcinkiewicz of the Mayhem. And when Marcinkiewicz wound up getting to the box, he kind of expressed his displeasure with the call to the official and got an obscene gesture game misconduct penalty, which caused him to be ejected from the game. And then today it was announced that Marcin Gavix will be serving a 1-game suspension for his gesture there. So, a lot of people, a couple penalties causing people, ice time there. So, it's kind of rough on the entire team when, these guys are doing this. That one just completely unnecessary. I mean, the boarding penalty for Ledzianko was kind of here or there, but that one, I don't know. I don't get that one. I'm surprised that Macon doesn't, do more for that one after that incident there. That was a little rough. Then, with just over 2 minutes to play in the first period, Matt Clark found himself in the box for a slash. And then, just 2 seconds before the first intermission, we saw McGregor St. Clair drop gloves with Dan Winslow of the Mayhem. And then into the seconds, both teams were restored to full strength, Macon wound up scoring yet again. Just a rough night for Birmingham, because then just 5 minutes into the to play in the second, we saw Troy McTavish put the puck in the net for the Bulls' only goal there. Then just over a minute later, we saw Jamie Dorsey drop gloves with Dan Winslow. Dan Winslow had a couple of fights there, so it seems like he was a bit instigating that one. But seconds later, the Bulls went on the penalty kill as Carson Rose was called for a trip. With 34 seconds left in the second period, the Mayhem wound up scoring their third goal of the game. And then just 4 minutes into the third, we saw the Bulls go on the power play for a hold, which was unsuccessful. And then went back on the power play just right after it for a trip, which was also unsuccessful. And then the Bulls finally pulled Stewie. 2 minutes left to play, but then less than a minute later, they saw Taylor Brierley get put in the box for a slash, and they wound up having to put Stewie back in the net for the face-off after the penalty. And then 12 seconds, with 12 seconds left in the game, the Mayhem wound up ending it after Stewie, wound up coming back off, but they ended it with a empty net goal for handing the Bulls their first regulation loss of the season. But it was a very physical, very passionate game, homestand for the Bulls. Just couldn't come up with 2 wins. We wanted to see that so that we could be tied with. Actually, we would be in first place potentially, but unfortunately not. The officiating was a bit inconsistent, but you can't blame it on the officiating because the Bulls have got to start capitalizing on the power play opportunities that they were given. So I don't want to say that the officiating was too inconsistent, and people think that it was inconsistent toward Macon, because it wasn't just either way. It was inconsistent on both sides. So both nights that night. So hopefully things will it's still early in the season. Hopefully things will get better and more regulated through the rest of the season. But as it stands right now, the Bulls are 4-1-1, and the standings have Fayetteville in first place and Huntsville technically in second place, even though they're tied with Birmingham as far as record is concerned. But because of the overtime loss versus the Havoc, Birmingham is in third place. The Bulls are set to host the Roanoke Rail Yard Dogs on Friday, which is the team that ended our brief playoff run. So I'm sure the Bulls are excited to get some revenge on those guys. So make sure you guys get out there on Friday and support the Bulls. Had a nice crowd this past weekend, so hopefully we can continue getting those kind of numbers. But switching things over to the Birmingham Squadron, as we mentioned last week, camp started on Monday, and on Friday we were given the opportunity to attend camp, which is now held at the Lakeshore Foundation, which is a training facility for the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic teams. It was awesome to get an early glimpse at this team, which consists of 15 players, 3 of which have two-way contracts with the Pelicans. The practice started out with a brief film session, then warm-ups, followed by separate workouts with the offense and defense, and then on each end of the court, followed by a joint workout, and then a 5-minute game simulation at the end. Losing team had to run 17s, but it was a great time. Can't wait to see these guys hit the hardwood, which was just installed today. We will post that on the pages. We saw that earlier. But before we do that, we will actually wind up having to see the team cut to 10 players this week. So once we find out that, we will get that final roster to you. But then we will finally see the Squadron take on the start of their regular season this coming up weekend on Saturday, as they will host Mexico City Capitans at the Legacy Arena of the BJCC this Saturday at 6 p.m. So make sure you guys get out there and support the Squadron and all that they do, because without fans in the stands, we cannot expect to keep these teams here. I know that they have talked about how good this team is. Has improved the Pelicans in New Orleans and all, but we've got to put fans in the stands before we can ever think about keeping a team here in Birmingham. So with that, make sure you guys get out there and support the Squadron this weekend. On to the Stallions, who wound up having a few transactions this past week. We saw on Wednesday the Stallions sign wide receiver Austin Watkins out of UAB. Then we also saw them sign Jaden Price out of North Dakota State, who's a cornerback there. Then today, the league announced that the Stallions and the Renegades formed a trade. Arlington wound up receiving the cornerback Jaden Price, and then Birmingham received defensive end Jeremiah Martin. So it was great to see that there. Always great to see transactions occurring for the Stallions. We know that some of the guys are in the NFL right now on practice squads and different aspects of the game, but so we wish them the best of luck and glad to see these guys coming on for the Stallions. On Tuesday, we found out that the fan event, the town hall that was previously canceled, they rescheduled it for November the 14th from 5 to 6:30 p.m. And this time it will be at the Cahaba Brewing Company over there, and that's over in Crestwood. So it's nice to see that. President and CEO of the UFL, Russ Brandon, will be there. VP of Football Operations, Daryl Johnston, will be there. And head coach Skip Holtz will be there as well. We're also going to see wide receiver Marlon Williams there, he was there last time we had this event. And then this guy that you see here, Joe from the Foe, as he calls himself, Mr. Tillery himself, will be on hand to accept fans' pictures, autographs, whatever you want. So make sure you get out there. And oh yeah, Stanley will be there as well. But make sure you bring 2 canned goods, which will be donated to the Community Food Bank of Central Alabama to receive a free gift from the Stallions. So we can't wait for that. We're going to be there. So we're stoked. We can't wait to talk to Russ, the Moose, and Skip as well. So, of course, Marlon Williams, always cool to talk to. Really down-to-earth guy. So is JoJo Tillery. So all these guys are pretty, well-rounded folks. And really down-to-earth folks. I mean, carry on conversation with those guys, especially like Marlon Williams and Moose Johnson, Coach Holtz too. I mean, that I've been talking to those guys for going on 2 or 3 years now, so it's really cool to see to talk to those guys if you get the chance. In closing, we're trying to get a few things. We're revving up for basketball season as hockey season is getting heated up. We're working on some interviews for you guys. I know that that's one of the things that people have been asking for is more interviews. We're trying to get a few interviews going from the Stallions, or no, not Stallions, but the Bulls right now. And then we are also working on our storefront, trying to get it back up and going. But if there's anything you would like, just shoot us a message. We will try to spot by it for you guys and get your information like that. But until we can get our storefront back up and operational. But once we do, we will have a big post. And then as for this, hopefully you will attend the sporting events this weekend with the Bulls taking on the Rail Yard Dogs, and then the Squadron taking on the Capitans. So until next week, I will see you guys. Have a good night.